It started with a single frame, a hunter's trail cam, triggered at 2:43 a.m., deep in the Kootenai forest of Montana. The image was supposed to catch elk. Instead, it showed something pale, human-shaped and watching. Within hours, the footage spread online, and every expert had a different answer. A bear on its hind legs, a prank, a glitch in the camera. But when the Department of Fish and Wildlife pulled the SD card, they found 5 seconds of footage missing, cut perfectly in the middle of the motion sequence. Eli Ward was called to investigate. He'd seen mountain lions, grizzlies, and worse. But when he watched the raw video in person, he noticed something that made his breath catch. The creature wasn't walking. It was unfolding. What if the thing caught on camera wasn't hunting, but warning? And why did every other trail cam within 10 miles shut off that same night? By morning, Eli arrived at the ridge where the footage was taken. Frost coated every surface, and the air felt wrong. Too still, too heavy. The hunter who'd placed the camera swore he hadn't seen anything unusual that night. But when Eli checked the second trail cam, it was gone. Torn from the tree, wires snapped clean. No claw marks. No footprints. Just drag lines through the frozen ground, leading into the timberline. He radioed base. Static. Only static. At the station, officials reviewed Eli's field report. Most called it equipment damage. Maybe a bear? But one analyst, Mara Jensen, froze the footage frame by frame and found something nobody else saw. Reflection. In the creature's eyes, a shape of the camera itself, and behind it, a second figure standing in shadow. Someone else was out there that night. Eli replayed the moment in his mind. Every sound in the forest echoed differently now. Branches cracking like bone, distant wind sounding almost like a voice. He started marking coordinates, planning to go back at night. Something in his gut told him the footage wasn't showing a monster. It was showing a message. But from who? As the sun set over the ridgeline, clouds gathered unnaturally fast. The weather radar at the ranger station blinked out. Signal lost. In the final seconds before the storm hit, the same trail cam pinged again. Motion detected. 5 frames uploaded before the system crashed. In the last frame, the pale figure was closer. Much closer. The footage spread quietly through official channels. Biologists, law enforcement, even meteorologists were pulled in. Every analysis came back inconclusive. The figure's shape didn't match any animal native to Montana. Its gait was human, but the proportions weren't. Mara Jensen was the first to say what everyone else was thinking. It moved like it didn't have bones. When they enhanced the infrared data, something else appeared. A heat signature, not from a body, but from the air around it. Like the forest itself was bleeding energy. They sent a report to Helena. The response was swift. A team of federal wildlife investigators was dispatched within 24 hours. But when they arrived, they didn't ask about the creature. They asked about the missing data. The SD card's metadata showed an edit timestamp no one could explain. The cut frames had been removed not by the camera, but by a remote signal. That night, Mara found her phone battery drained to 0 while on airplane mode. Eli's radio, sitting silent on his desk, clicked once and played 5 seconds of heavy breathing. The investigation team arrived the next morning. 4 men in unmarked trucks. Quiet, polite, and wrong. They sealed off the forest section without explanation. Eli asked for updates, but their radios ran on a different frequency. By sunset, they were gone, heading deeper into the timberline. That night, Eli and Mara received a weather alert. Unusual barometric pressure drop. But the radar showed something stranger. A perfect circle of still air over the exact area the team had entered. Hours later, Mara studied the radar again. The still air had shifted, following the team's path deeper into the mountains. She noticed it moved too precisely, like it was tracking them. She looked up at Eli, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not weather. It's something moving through it. They watched as the radar dot blinked once, then vanished. At dawn, they found one of the investigators' trucks abandoned by the road. Engine still running. Headlights pointed toward the ridge. Inside, the dashcam light blinked, recording. The last video showed a static field of trees, until something tall and pale stepped across the road, too fast for the eye to follow. A sound filled the cabin microphone, low and hollow, like wind through hollow bone. And then, silence. By the third day, the investigation teams still hadn't reported in. Headquarters ordered Eli and Mara to make contact and retrieve whatever equipment had been left behind. The morning air was brittle, the kind that makes every breath sting. As they packed their gear, Mara hesitated. Her reflection in the cabin window seemed to move a moment after she did. Eli brushed it off, but the unease clung to both of them. The forest had gone silent. No birds, no insects, just wind pushing against them like resistance. By noon, they reached the ridge. The ground was frozen in strange patterns, as if something had dragged its way across it in perfect circles. Eli knelt to inspect one. The soil beneath the frost was still warm. They found a trail of small metal tags, the kind used for wildlife collars, leading deeper into the trees. Each one was bent, crushed flat, and at the base of a fallen spruce, they found a torn scrap of uniform fabric with an official patch still attached. They decided to camp before dark. As Eli set up the tent, Mara recorded a short log for the department, her voice steady, but her eyes darting to the trees every few seconds. Later, as they sat by the fire, she asked quietly, "Do you think it knows we're here?" Eli didn't answer. He was staring at the darkness just beyond the firelight, where for a moment he thought he saw something tall sway between the pines, perfectly in sync with the wind. At 2:17 a.m., Mara woke to the sound of something brushing against the tent fabric. Slow, measured. Not animal movement, deliberate. Eli reached for his flashlight and unzipped the flap, just enough to look. The beam cut through fog, catching a glimmer. Eyes, reflecting white light, back like glass marbles. They were too high off the ground to belong to any animal. And then, a second pair appeared lower. And another, closer. 3 sets, watching. Before dawn, they broke camp and moved fast. No conversation, just breathing, and the crunch of frost underfoot. Then Mara froze mid-step. In the distance, hanging from a branch, was one of the investigators' cameras, lens shattered, casing split open. The recording light still blinked. Eli climbed up to reach it, but as his hand touched the strap, the light flickered once and turned off. When he looked down, Mara wasn't where she'd been standing. Her footprints ended halfway down the trail. Eli searched until daylight vanished. No sign of Mara, no footprints beyond where they stopped. The forest had swallowed her whole. He called her name until his throat burned. Then his radio crackled to life. Just once, and her voice came through. But it wasn't live. It was a recording. Mara Jensen, Field Log 3, visibility low. Feels like the trees are moving when I'm not looking at them. Then silence. The timestamp on the transmission was from 20 minutes after she disappeared. Back at the ranger station, Eli replayed Mara's final log over and over. Each time he noticed something new in the background, a faint rhythmic pulse beneath her voice. When slowed down, it wasn't static. It was a pattern. 4 beats, pause. 4 beats, pause. He realized it matched the same interval the creature's motion triggered the trail cam. 5 seconds of movement, 5 seconds missing. The pattern wasn't random. It was a signal. Eli isolated the sound and traced its frequency. It wasn't broadcasting on any radio band. It was electromagnetic interference, pulsing from the same ridge where the team disappeared. He pulled up archived ranger logs, dozens of cases, missing hikers, collapsed trails, and before every incident, reports of identical interference patterns. Each time the same description appeared in the notes: tall figure on ridge, pale light, disappears in fog, It had been happening for decades. He played the signal again, turning up the gain until the static roared. And beneath the pattern, faintly, a voice. It wasn't Mara's. A whisper, drawn out and hollow. "Behind you." Eli froze. The lights flickered. The air pressure shifted. The kind of heaviness that means something's standing too close. He turned slowly. The cabin window was dark, except for a reflection that wasn't his own. By dawn, Eli packed up and left the cabin, unable to stay another night. But halfway down the ridge, his truck's dashboard flickered. The radio auto-tuned itself to the same frequency again. The voice returned, but this time clear. "Do not go back to the ridge. It's not following you. You're walking toward it." The road ahead vanished into fog. And for the first time, Eli realized he wasn't escaping. He was being guided. Eli reached the site where the investigator's truck had been abandoned days earlier. Snow had swallowed the tracks. Inside, everything was frozen, except the camera. Its tiny red light still blinked like a heartbeat. He took it home, thawed the battery, and pressed play. The footage began with silence. Then, headlights, trees, and a man's voice saying, "We've got movement ahead." The camera jolted. The sound of footsteps, then breathing. The beam of a flashlight shook violently before freezing on a shape just beyond the road. Tall, pale, still. And then, impossibly, it stepped closer. Eli slowed the footage frame by frame. The figure was no animal. Its arms were too long, legs bending backward like a deer's, but its posture human. The face reflected light with a dull, metallic sheen. Behind it, tree branches swayed. But the creature didn't move with the wind. It moved against it. For every step, the wind pushed forward, it swayed back, like it wasn't bound to the same air. Then, at the 30-second mark, a second face flickered beside it, familiar. Mara. He paused the image and zoomed in. Mara's mouth was moving, repeating a single word he couldn't hear. When he ran audio isolation, it came through faintly. "Run." Outside, the wind began to rise again. Sudden, violent. Trees bent toward the cabin as if pulled by unseen force. Eli's radio turned on by itself, crackling to life with the same rhythmic pulse. 4 beats, pause, 4 beats, pause, and then, layered beneath it, his own voice. The recording continued, now showing the final seconds from the investigator's perspective. The camera had fallen sideways, pointed at the forest floor. For several moments, only darkness, breathing, and static. Then the pale figure stepped into view again, crouched low, its head twitching in short bursts, like it was listening. It lifted its face toward the camera. And for a fraction of a second, Eli saw something impossible. Mara's reflection in its eyes. Alive. Alive. Eli slammed the laptop shut. The wind outside stopped instantly. In the silence, he heard one sound. Footsteps on the porch. Slow, deliberate. He looked up as the front door creaked open, the light from his lantern stretching across the floorboards. A figure stood in the doorway, human height, wearing Mara's torn jacket, her face pale, eyes empty. She whispered, "You shouldn't have watched it." Mara's figure vanished by morning, the snow outside unbroken as if she had never been there. Eli searched the cabin, desperate to convince himself it was exhaustion, not reality. But when he replayed the last seconds of the dash cam, something new appeared. As the creature turned its head, a symbol flashed on its shoulder, a shape burned into the skin like an ancient brand. It wasn't random. He recognized it. The same mark was carved into a tree near the trailhead where the first footage was taken. Someone, or something, had marked this ground long before they ever arrived. Eli traced the symbol in old ranger archives and found it again, dating back to the 1940s. Reports from avalanche sites and missing hikers all included one description: a tall, pale guardian appearing before disaster. Locals had a name for it: the Ridgewalker. It wasn't the cause of death. It was the warning. Every sighting preceded something catastrophic. And now, for the first time in decades, it had returned. He drove back to the ridge, storm clouds boiling overhead. As he climbed, the forest grew darker, not from weather, but from something unseen pressing down. The trees leaned inward, their branches vibrating with quiet hums. When he reached the clearing, he saw them. Hundreds of the same marks burned into the trees in a perfect spiral. In the center, a circle of untouched snow. And in that silence, he finally understood. This was a boundary, a warning line, and someone had crossed it. The storm hit without warning. Wind howled through the tree line, snow swirling so thick Eli could barely see. Then, through the blizzard, he saw her again. Mara, standing within the circle, her voice cut through the wind, calm but distant. "It's not coming for us. It's coming through us." Before Eli could reach her, lightning struck the ridge. For one blinding moment, the entire forest glowed white, and he saw hundreds of figures surrounding them, pale and still. They weren't attacking. They were waiting. When the light faded, the forest was silent again. The marks on the trees had burned away, leaving only ash. Eli fell to his knees, realizing what it meant. The Ridge Walker didn't hunt, didn't protect. It remembered. Every place it appeared was marked by loss. Not to destroy life, but to mourn it before it vanished. As he looked up, he saw the creature standing at the edge of the ridge, still and patient, its gaze fixed not on him, but on the valley below, where thunder rolled, and the first avalanche broke loose. Weeks passed before anyone found Eli's truck at the base of the ridge. Inside, the radio still hummed, looping a single transmission on repeat. Eli's voice, calm and quiet. "If you're hearing this, don't try to find us. Don't come up the ridge. It's not evil. It's not what you think. It's a memory. No sign of Eli. No sign of Mara. Only a burned circle of earth where their camp had been, still warm beneath the snow." Weeks later, new rangers reviewed the recovered dashcam files. Most were static, corrupted beyond repair. But one file had survived. It showed Eli standing on the ridge, wind roaring around. Behind him, a massive wall of snow ready to fall. He looked directly into the lens and said, "It's warning us again." Look at the valley? Then the video cut out. And 3 seconds later, the avalanche struck. In the months that followed, strange reports surfaced across Montana. Cameras losing power, animals migrating early, hikers claiming to see white figures in the tree line. Officials dismissed them as rumor, the kind born from fear and grief. But on a cold February night, one new trail cam came online in the exact same sector. It pinged movement. 5 frames uploaded. Then, silent. Frame 1, a blur of trees. Frame 2, distant shape. Frame 3, closer, unmistakably humanoid. Frame 4, a face white and hollow-eyed, half in shadow. Frame 5, blank screen, then static. Officials claimed system error, but analysts noticed one thing. The timestamp, exactly 1 year to the minute since the first recording. Somewhere in the darkness of the Kootenai forest, the creature still stands, silent, watching, waiting. Maybe it's not hunting. Maybe it's remembering everything this land has lost. And if the Ridge Walker returns only to warn, then the question isn't what it is, but what's coming next.